Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's the Full 40 with Chris, Willie, and Trevor, part of the Nova Insider Network and brought to you by Home Field Apparel. Back to you. It's been a little bit of a break for us. What is it, week and a half? Lots happened since, though.
I think it's been 2 weeks.
Has it
right?
been 2 weeks?
Fanta was like the 11th.
You're right. It was 16 days. Yeah, no, you're right. It was 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 weeks, 2-0. Something students in the states of Nebraska, Wisconsin, and Connecticut cannot claim.
I'm going to say something. We're 2-0 and we haven't podcasted. Do we ever podcast again?
Yeah. All right, guys. Well,
this is
see you next time. And as always, let's go Nova. But yeah, no, I mean, look, it's amazing how, especially early in the season, like the ebbs and flows of how you feel about a team just shifts just so dramatically, just based on like one result to the next, right? Like we played ostensibly made a great comeback against Creighton, but if we don't send that game into overtime, or if the refs don't send that game into overtime, and then we don't win that game in overtime, we're having a totally different conversation today. Just like a couple buckets here or there makes all the difference in the world.
Vastly different.
Yeah, but that's showbiz.
That is the game they play.
That's what happens when you hit your wagon to the Villanova roller coaster Wildcats. I could have done better. We'll workshop it.
The Villanova Roller Cats.
That's a little bit better. There we go.
But hey, 2-0, right? And I believe it might have changed. It probably did change over the last couple of days. But at one point in time, there was only 2 road wins. John Fanta tweeted this out. There was only 2 road wins in the entire conference, and both were ours. So, which is huge.
Road Cats.
Yeah. Well, Road Cats, which brings me to my first topic. Jay Wright is not allowed to go to basketball games.
Oh, Jay Wright can't go.
He's not allowed to go.
You brought this up like during the Bahamas. I was like, whatever. Like, that's cute. And after the St. Joe's game, I was like, oh, no, this is real. Like, this is real. Gerald, sit your ass at home.
I think he has a TV. He can watch at home. He can do what we did. I know he was celebrating the birthday. He probably didn't even have the game on. But, keep doing what you did when we were away. Let's just do whatever we have to do to ensure that this team performs.
Or like, if you want to show up, like, don't let anybody know you're there. Like, you can't. So I guess you can't really come to a game at the pavilion because everyone's going to know you're there.
This is an old reference, but do you remember back, like, this is like 25 years ago when Bobby Valentine was the manager of the Mets, and he got ejected from the game and then came
back in disguise,
like the mustache and whatever. Like, that's what Jay Wright has to do. He can't announce it can't be a thing that he's at the game. Yeah. He has to silently attend in costume.
I mean, I'm pro it. Overall, go ahead.
I tweeted this out and somebody was just like, I'm not going to stand for this Jay. It was T-God. T-God said, I'm not going to stand for this Jay hate. And I was like, it's not Jay hate. He's a mush. He's just a mush. Like, let's just go.
It's everybody has their game day superstitions. Like my brother during one of the tournament runs, he would watch at the same seat in the library that he was writing his thesis, and watch every game there. He would go to the same bar in New York for the other tournament runs. Every single game that he would watch the same place, trying to be as close to, if not the exact same as it was before. So everybody has their thing. Jay's thing is going to be watching at home.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, Chris Jenkins hit that shot because when I was standing in that bar, my right foot was lifted up slightly and I couldn't move it. And so I said, that's it. And he hit the shot. And I was like, that's because of you. Like, this title is part of you. Like, Jenkins I put my right foot down and arch slips and we're going to overtime. So,
everything you do at home has an impact on the game. There's an entire Always Sunny episode about this right before the gang wins the Super Bowl. Everything you do has an impact on the game.
I love that. The cosmic energy of the universe shifts if you shift. It's true. It's also something that is also true, just totally unrelated. Whenever the camera angle is at a different camera angle than just like the normal one, for a game, we play worse. That's just a fact. If we're on defense and they show the other team from like the view from the other side of the court, so you're like
They're gonna score
down at the basket, they're definitely going to score. And if it's for us, we definitely miss every time.
Wide right, like just about clanking off the right side of the iron.
100% every time. If it was the correct camera angle, it would be good.
Turning over, referees slipping. Speaking of slipping referees, did you see Lamar Jackson? What happened in that game? That complete aside, but I just thought about that.
Yeah, but I think that ref still handled the situation better than the refs at the end of regulation against Creighton, where they had the opportunity to make 3 decisions or 4 decisions at this point. This happened 10 days ago, almost. It's 7 days, a week ago, and I'm still angry about it. Like, they made 3 incorrect decisions that were clearly incorrect in a row. And then we're just like, I don't know, give Creighton back the ball, I guess.
What doesn't make sense is, like, if we're breaking that down, the first one was the ball is very clearly in Shireman's hands. Very clearly.
Obvious.
Because they can't go back and call, like, that's a stupid rule, but because they can't do that, they have to ignore that. Okay, that's one thing. The miss happens. The ball is very clearly tipped off a Creighton player.
And very clearly does not go out of bounds.
Does not go out of bounds. So then you're like, so then there's like, okay, well, they called it out of bounds, but it wasn't out of bounds. The ball's tipped off of Creighton, but they call it off of us. But then with I think the thing you go at the end is Shireman hit that shot as the time expired. If they let that count,
I was terrified.
But I think they would have been able to go back to the shot clock violation if he had hit that, because it was a made basket situation at that point. Oh, but no, maybe it hit the rim. I don't know. But like, if Shireman hit that shot, if that counted, it would have been all. We would be having a very different podcast right now. We would have had an emergency podcast of which
we would have been spacing. Yeah, it would have been.
It was James breeding, right?
Yeah, it was breeding. Yeah. It's always breeding. He's always involved in any shit show that this conference has from a refereeing standpoint. Him and Jeffrey Anderson.
But we finally hit the Eric Dixon pin down for you to get this the lead /
one of our game. 2 inbounds plays. Yeah. You only need 2.
It was from the corner, so a little bit more efficient. But hey, like, we'll take it. Did I roll my eyes so big? Like, the second that play drew up and I saw Eric take the shot, I rolled my eyes. Not because Eric was going to miss it, but I was just like, come on, this shot. And then he made it. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll accept it.
I think I had texted you guys, or maybe it was a different chat that I'm confusing, but I was like, I really hope we just make it a 1-shot possession and don't give them any time. Like, I'd rather us go to double overtime than take a quick shot and give them the ball and the opportunity. But I don't know anything. So give me the Dixon, give me the points. Yeah.
Whatever it takes, man.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. So there was the Creighton game, obviously, which again, a week ago. So it's fully marinated in everyone's minds.
Chris, I want to go back to something from the Creighton game for you though. But something you tweeted when we were down 14 and when we were making the comeback of just like, being proud of the team's fight, or you maybe put it in our group text or whatever it was, but essentially saying that, like, there's so many times that we're proud of, like, oh, this team's coming back and they don't quit and they fight. But then, obviously we won the game, so it's even better. But like, I forgot what your tweet was exactly, but that being a common theme, if we're going like narratives of like, this team does fight and I'm proud of them for that. I'm glad
they shouldn't always have to.
They shouldn't have to. So that's narrative number 2. We shouldn't always have to be fighting.
Why? Like, I'm proud of your fight, but I'm not proud of the fact that you surrendered a 14-point lead when you should never have done that.
Yeah.
Questionable lineup for a 4-minute stretch, 3-minute stretch. I don't know, but that basically blew the game open when it was, what was it? Nana, Archidiakono, Hausen, Bamba, and Burton.
Something along those lines. I know the first 3 were. The first 3 should never be on the floor together. They all have reasons to be on the floor, especially with Arch, especially with Justin out. I get it.
Yeah.
But never on the floor together.
And I'll say this too, like, I was more so joking about it before the UCLA game, but Nana Njoku is playing good minutes.
Yes.
Every game he's played in, he's making an impact on defense and he's getting some garbage buckets. Just his rebounding and his presence, just having another big that you can just be like, all right, good luck getting a shot up over him. Because I think he's like that 6'9", fake 6'10", but he has a crazy vertical, crazy athlete. I've been really happy with how he's played in his limited stretch. And then it kind of seems like he's taken a lot of those backup minutes from Lance Ware recently.
Can I also add that he fouls hard?
Which we need like a dog.
Yeah.
No easy buckets. Yeah, let him know. Like they should feel you.
Yeah.
Maybe he should foul a little bit less. Like we'll see.
Probably,
We'll work on the less.
yeah.
We'll get like give me like 2 hard fouls. You don't need 4.
Yeah, but they're not like Theo John hard fouls where it's like, oh, this guy's just trying to hurt somebody. It's like, no, I tried to block the shot. You just got in the way.
Yeah.
Turkey Theo John was playing fucking Smash Brothers out there. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Oh man. But I agree with you. Like it's good hard fouls. He prevents a bucket. You don't really get he's not going to get a lot of N1s on him, which is like important to me. Right. And I like that. I like having him on the floor, and he is providing, like we said earlier on in the season, like earlier, maybe last year's Full 40 episode, I forget, or this year's opening episode, one of those where we talked about like, can Nana Njoku spell Eric Dixon at the 5 for 10 minutes a game, 5-10 minutes a game? We weren't thinking too much about Ware at that time, but the combination of Ware and Nana Njoku is doing that.
Yeah.
Right? So like we're getting the big man play aside from Dixon that we need on this squad, which is terrific, and it has been a notable thing that's happened in several wins now, where Nana Njoku has come in and made winning basketball plays. Which has he been like they were talking him up a lot in the preseason and before the season started? Has he been that? No, but he's been really good.
Yeah. It's always been something to impact the game in a positive way. Again, like you wish it wasn't always a foul, but he had back-to-back blocks in that UNC game. He always seems to have like a big time block. Granted, it's in between like 2 sets of fouls, but he's going for the blocks. He makes those garbage buckets. When he would play last year, it would seem like he would always get a dunk off a miss. Which was huge, just for morale. But now that he's not playing in garbage time as much, he does get little dinkers and dumpers at the end of a possession, or just kind of cleaning up the glass, which is all you can really ask for of him at this point in his career, I think. And he's been delivering that.
We do need to talk about another bench player who's not much of a bench player. Sorry, you're hearing the squeaking of a cork. As I am drinking on this episode. We had to talk about Hakeem Hart, who has been an absolute revelation.
He has been so fucking good. Like, just so good. Like, the DePaul game was great because, like, you could just see it from accounting numbers. But all season, he's
since
been
UCLA, especially, yeah.
I even go back as far as it's not even that far. Kansas State, where he shut down Tyler Perry. Wow. He shut down Tyler Perry, and like Perry, like they got that switch on Lance Ware so he could make that shot because he was avoiding Hakeem Hart. Hakeem Hart in 2, maybe 3 games has just stolen the ball on the sideline from a person like
just
who
grabs it out of their hands
and just grabs it out of their hands. He did that versus Creighton, did that versus Kansas State. He may have done it versus UCLA. Like he's a great defender. I mean, I understand the starting Mark Armstrong. I'm not even really advocating for Mark to be benched per se, but what I am saying is Hakeem Hart deserves to start. Like, and I know that realistically means, Mark goes to the bench, but like, it's more of a play on Hakeem's play and how good he's been. And if it's not starting, we sure know he's going to be finishing most games because even though, he's a guard at 6'8", or he's a guard, he's 6'8", he's versatile defensively. He fits every single lineup we have. He's sneaky one of our best 3-point shooters. I know the 4-for-4 will help, but he's been consistent and also best 3-point shooter on this team. Like, doesn't really mean that much. But he's still, like, despite how unorthodox his shot is, it goes in. Like, I'm confident when he goes for 3. I'm like, he'll probably make the shot. He's aggressive. He does all the right things. He's just a winning basketball player. Like, this is I think we probably called this out a while, maybe beginning of the season. Are we talking like X factors or glue guys? Like he is like, if he's not on Seth Davis's all glue guy team, that's a mistake on Seth Davis's part.
No, and at least for me personally, he's made it when one of my friends creates a meme of the player with some form of a glue stick, glue canister, something involved. That go like it first started with Jermaine Samuels, the Elmer's glue thing, and then Dixon when he was more of the glue guy. The last couple of years, they did like a gallon jug of glue, and now Hakeem Hart is the glue stick.
That's actually a good nickname, the glue stick.
The glue stick.
Glue stick. I like that.
And even like we go back to it, like it doesn't necessarily mean benching Mark. Like you could take Jordan's spot, although Jordan's playing really well. Maybe Bamba's spot, who can't find the bottom of the basket right now. But he definitely
figure it out versus DePaul.
I struggle. DePaul is one of those games where I'm like, it's hard to take anything real from this because it's DePaul. But
we lost to Drexel.
I understand. But as I said, Drexel is one of the best teams in the country, and I'm glad they got to play Bryant, so that Bryant could experience playing a top contender after UConn dodged them. But going back to it, like Hakeem has been playing so well that like everybody's like, at least me, I've been like, how did we let this guy leave Philadelphia? Granted, his class was like Jeremiah Robinson Earl, and Chris Arch and Eric. Eric was in that class. And I think Caleb might have come in that year too. So it was like there wasn't necessarily room for him, but like he's one of these guys, he is one of these transfers that feels like he's been here the entire time. And he's just making winning plays, and he deserves to have that, if not starting the sixth starter kind of role, that kind of minutes allocation, and definitely in that closing lineup.
Yep.
Hakeem Hart is, I mean, it's funny that you brought up Jermaine, because we were talking last year about how this team lacked a Jermaine Samuels figure, and how we were talking about how in 2022, we maybe didn't appreciate Jermaine Samuels throughout the regular season enough. In the tournament, he was obviously like Super Saiyan Sunday Tiger mode, like Jermaine Samuels mode, but we were missing like the Jermaine Samuels and all of the stuff that he would do for a team throughout the regular season last year. And he has been that guy, no doubt this season. And a little bit better from a scoring standpoint, than Jermaine was in most games on average throughout a season.
More consistent, yeah.
Yes. So he's just been phenomenal. And if it wasn't for Eric Dixon going absolutely bananas again against Ryan Kalkbrenner, Hakeem Hart would be the runaway alpha dog of the week.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But it's Eric. But it's again Eric. I mean, Eric Dixon is making a legitimate case for Big East Player of the Year. So he is. So you can't he can't jump that. But Hakeem Hart's been fantastic.
You just threw me off with the Player of the Year, because I was like, I hadn't been thinking of it, but I was like, it's him, Tristan Newton, and like, I guess Kolek, but like Kolek's been good, but like that's probably your three.
Kolek hasn't been super special yet.
Yeah.
There was some accounts were talking about this today.
Kadari.
Like two games into it, and it's people are saying Soriano because of his numbers, but I don't buy that necessarily, just because I don't know. Again, we're 2 games in. But yeah, Eric
forgot he delivered that pizza to his coach too, though. So I
Joel Soriano,
kind of an X factor.
pizza delivery man of the year. Yes, thank you, Brian.
Shireman is also on the list.
Shireman's on that list, but can you really be on that list if you don't hit a 3 against Villanova?
He took a stupid ass shot too.
He almost made it to that was nuts. But again, and I don't know how to talk about 3-point defense, but holding Creighton to 5 of 24 in an overtime game from 3 is nuts. Part of that was probably that they were off and we got lucky on some open shots, but we have a lot of length on this roster that's getting in the way of people, I think, and it's finally starting to actually show. Like, bad teams aren't just making everything against us anymore, for these 2 games at least.
I mean, with the Creighton game, and I want to talk about DePaul, but Creighton, we had our at least of all our major games we played. I'm trying to get to early season. We only had 4 transition possessions, so like we were not running. We were very much like, all right, this is like what we're going to do. 4, I believe, is the least that we've had. I'm just looking at Synergy right now. If it would let me scroll. Oh, here we go.
But that game itself was like, I think at well into the second half, it was like 2-2 in transition points or something like that. It was not a game played in the open floor.
No, which obviously like leads in our favor. So yeah, I mean, yeah, 4 is the least we've had all season, which from our side, like, is absolutely huge. And then if I even look at it from a defensive side, like, what do we prevent Creighton from doing? Creighton had like 14 defense transition possessions, but out of 85 possessions, like, we really slowed them down. So I think like that plays into that. And obviously, like, we're really good defensively. Just like
our defense is a thing. It's a thing.
It's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely a thing.
It's
not a flash in the pan anymore officially.
I mean, what we did it to Maryland, and you're like, all right, whatever. Maryland's probably like bad, and like they're not that great. We did it to Memphis, and you're like, oh, maybe Memphis is overrated. Memphis is really good.
Memphis is good.
Memphis is good. We've like, I mean, UNC, they put up 80, but it was overtime. Creighton like 66 in an overtime. It was out there, 66. Like, we really have been there. And I mean, we're long, we're versatile. We spoke about this before. We understand like what we bring to the table. We have depth. Are we always playing them at the right times? No, hopefully Knepp will learn that. But like, we have the depth, we have the wings. Like, honestly, the weak spot on this team is like true guards. Like, it's Mark and Arch for true, and Hausen for like true guards. That's like the weak spot on this team. Like Justin and Longino, like we can throw Justin at the 4, and I'm not worried for a second. We can throw Longino on Longino's been on big man. Obviously, we switch everything, but like this defense is very real, like, which is awesome to see. To the thing that we've given Kyle a lot of guff for, of like, oh, defense and rebounding is our priority. Hey, it's working to an extent. We still want to see that offense get better, but then you look at our offense. I think Ken Pom, we're probably like 33rd, 39th, whatever it is, somewhere in that range. So like, I guess that's not bad. I mean, if we can hover around there and you're around,
I think it's skewed a little bit after the Butler DePaul result. But yeah.
If our offensive rating, if our shooting percentage is literally just a situation in which we are going to have a regression to the mean, as I like to say. I can't even say the things I like to say anymore because Brian. but if hi Brian. Yeah, I can't hear you. But if we regress to the mean on shooting percentage, and that's on that alone, our offensive efficiency would go up a lot. Like we're 34th on Ken Pom right now. We could easily jump 15 slots if our just shooting percentage improves to where you would historically expect the guys on this team to
slightly above average. Slightly above average, we jump spots. Yeah. And like we saw that versus DePaul, just to talk about that game. Like, I know it's DePaul. There's not like a lot to read about it. This is really bad what's happening over there. I feel like I want to go save that program and just be like, hey, if you're from Chicago, $5 million in NIL. How do I get it? I don't know. We'll deal with that later. But regardless, like we did what we were supposed to do versus a bad team. Like we didn't do this versus who the hell did we play in the beginning of the season? Why am I Lemoyne or whoever the other heck
American.
Yeah. Throw it on the ground. We didn't do it versus them. We didn't really just like dominate. We did that here. Obviously, like a big thing was we also hit our shots in the ball game. And if that's just like a reset moment coming for us where we're going to start hitting our shots the rest of the season, it could be a fun season. It could be.
I mean, if we hit those shots and get back to a overall season percentage of where we thought we might be in the beginning of the season,
Yeah.
and it's just like one of those Eric Paschal like in 2018 where he was like 0 for his first 27 and then was absolutely lights out from there on in.
Yeah.
We're going to make the third weekend of the NCAA tournament.
So when I said it's a good season, that's what was in my head. I didn't want to put it on tape, but here we
No, I don't give a fuck.
we say all this, and next week we're going to lose to Xavier.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because Jay Wright's going to fucking show up at the game.
I'm hoping he has New Year's plans and is going to be golfing somewhere with like the Villanova Club of Florida or something. Like, let's just get him away from campus for a little while.
I do think his CBS schedule picks up soon, so I think
Thankfully.
he will be on the road a little bit more.
The worst part is going to be when he's on the road for Villanova games. We usually get Georgetown on CBS. That's we're gonna lose Georgetown roulette because Jay Wright's gonna be calling the game.
Yeah. So can we talk so on the DePaul note? I just one point on that. Like, I was really happy with that game purely because we had a task in front of us: beat a bad team. Right? It's on the road, so you never know. Game before Christmas, you're coming off a good win. You never know how everyone's going to feel about that, right? We're on the road versus a bad team. You go out and you absolutely fucking throttle them. And that is exactly what we've come to know and love about our Villanova teams over the last 10 years. That's what they would do, right? And so like, does that mean that we're going to be the 2018 Villanova Wildcats? No. But is that a good sign going out and just absolutely stomping all over a bad team? Yeah, that's what you have to do. That's what we have been lacking. And so for the mere point that we've been lacking that throughout the earlier part of the season, to see it happen and come to fruition, perfect.
That was one of the few times to your point, we've looked like an old school, like Villanova team from 5 years ago. Like that was like, and since the Neptune era started, that was one of those games where it just felt like you all remember the feeling of like, okay, cool. First half, we're up 10. Then all of a sudden we're up 18 or early. And then you just kind of like turn off your brain and you just see the team like just coast and make great plays and like play together. And like, you're like, all right, this feels good. That's how a lot of it felt. That was how this DePaul game was. Once again, it's DePaul. It's probably like, we know we're going to get into rock fights. We know the Xavier game, we're going to blow a 10-point lead and then we're going to have to like scramble to like pull it back in. But it was good to see we're showing the right flashes, which tells me like Kyle's doing some stuff right. It's just, we need to start being consistent. That's just really what it is.
My criticism for him for the entire course of his thing is that he hasn't made the whole better than the sum of the parts.
Yeah.
Last year that the parts were excusable to not be good enough, even as a whole or as greater than the whole to make a tournament run after further review. This year they were, and right now we are on track, right? Like we're not a bubble team right now. Right?
Yeah.
Like this is very clearly a tournament team. So for that, credit when credit's due, right? Like this team is defensively really good, right? Like it doesn't just happen by accident. So you credit the coaching staff, you credit the veteran leadership, you credit the roster construction on the defensive end. This team's got to hit shots, right? Like, and when Justin Moore comes back, which I'm assuming is going to happen after New Year's, but when Justin Moore comes back, he's got to make sure that he comes back in a way that doesn't disrupt the offensive flow, which is crazy to say. It seems insane to say.
I don't think it's crazy to say, yeah.
But the offense has looked better for the last 60 minutes, 65 minutes of basketball that we've played than it has all season.
Not even just 65.
Yeah.
DePaul, Creighton, UCLA was kind of meh. But like Justin was out most of the Kansas State game and we looked good.
Yeah, fair.
What we've been talking about, and I think what everybody's realizing, like Justin Moore, incredible basketball player. We know that he's been that guy countless times on Jay Wright teams, and he did what he could last year. But what we've been seeing this year with him out is the ball moving more freely. It's not sticking as much. Guys are getting more into a rhythm, and it's less, oh, Justin has the ball, he's going to dribble this and try to back somebody down for 18 seconds and then try to force a rotation that isn't happening. So the team is learning to play without him. And Chris, as you said, like the challenge now is going to be integrating him back into the offense and making sure that it doesn't revert back to how it was on opening night when it's just like, oh, it's my ball, I'm going to try to back this guy down. It's not working. Eric here, corner 3. Oh, you're double teamed because my guy can help right off me here. Okay. Like we need to hope that they're seeing the difference in the film from before Kansas State and after DePaul and make those adjustments with Justin.
Yep. And
that's assuming like there's been no indication that he's coming back, but there's also been no indication that anything major is happening here. So I think we're all expecting like Xavier or UConn to be his game back, right?
Yeah, that'd be my expectation.
So this is something I did with you guys on the thread, but like I want to talk about the kind of like the chunking out of this season and what we have to look forward to in the Big East season a little bit. So we're in leg 1. When I look at the schedule, it kind of divides kind of nicely into 4 5-game parts. But before we do that, let's hear from our sponsors at at Home Field.
Sorry. It's like perfect time. Today's episode of the Full 40 is brought to you by Home Field Apparel. Home Field produces some of the best quality vintage collegiate apparel on the market. You won't find better game day gear anywhere else. Home Field has the ultimate collection of old school logos and looks with the best quality around. Shop t-shirts, crew necks, hoodies, bomber jackets, and more at homefieldapparel.com. Don't forget to use code NOVAINSIDER for 15% off your first purchase. That's code NOVAINSIDER at homefieldapparel.com.
Isn't that just the most natural ad read you've ever seen in your life?
It's just so natural.
It's for
I totally don't see your eyes
platform.
reading across the screen.
All right, at least I pronounced bomber jacket correctly. All right, with that not so subtle interruption, Chris, we have a big preview to go into.
Yeah, 4 5-game kind of tranches of this season, and we're in the middle of our first leg, which is at Creighton, at DePaul, then a 3-game homestand of Xavier, St. John's, and DePaul again. That's leg 1, which we're 2-0 so far. So based on the fact that we've beaten Creighton already, I would say that the goal here is 5-0 in this leg.
Yep.
But 4-1 at an absolute minimum.
You there?
Yeah. And then if I was to go into that from before,
Chris, you're all over the map.
Can you hear me?
He's all right for me. Keep going.
All right. Okay for you? All right.
Yeah.
So if I'm reading this right, so like before the Creighton game, I would have said 4-1. So like now I'm at 5-0 because like you got 3 home games versus two middle of the pack Big East teams and the worst team in major conference basketball other than Louisville. So like you got to go out and win all these games now. Leg 2 at Marquette. This is the hardest leg of the whole entire schedule. At Marquette, UConn at home, at St. John's, at Butler, Marquette at home. Those are 5 tournament level teams. St. John's and Butler will be on the bubble, or at least are on the bubble at the moment. But those are 5 tournament teams. And Marquette, UConn, we play Marquette twice in that leg, are like top 4 seed level teams.
It's
so
5 quad 1 games.
It's going to be
essentially.
Yeah, effectively 5 quad 1 games, like maybe a Q2 somewhere in there. I don't know where it is, but it's not there right now. If this team goes above 500 in that stretch, would be an unbelievable accomplishment.
Yep.
But after you win at Creighton, you don't have to win at Marquette and at UConn anymore. Like you just like the goal of this season was to grab one of those away games if you could. You do have to take care of business at home, but yeah, like that's the most important part of this whole season is going to be games like at St. John's, at Butler, at Providence, like at Xavier. Those games are going to make or break the season, and you have two of them in that stretch with at St. John's and at Butler, in addition to having UConn and Marquette at home.
And you're at Marquette that time too. So it's and I think this is what we even said earlier in the year, that our chances, our seeding, everything would kind of be dependent on how we do against the middle of the Big East. You have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. So the Georgetowns, the DePauls, maybe you slot Seton Hall into that group. But of course, they just beat UConn. They just killed UConn. So the middle of the Big East is going to be so difficult to navigate, and you just have to win the games you're supposed to win. And I think you're setting yourself up very nicely. Easier said than done, obviously, but yeah, that's just opportunities there.
I mean, I think I've said this before on the pod, but like when we look at the flow of the season, these 5 games are the games to define yourselves. Like we've done the work in non-conference with the wins. Obviously the losses have been bad, to like set us up to be like, all right, we're in tournament position. The Creighton win, as long as we hold serve at home, puts us in position to be like, we're going to be a top 8 seed at worst, as long as we hold serve at home and beat the teams we're supposed to beat. Going 3-2 in this split, or with these all being realistically going to be quad ones, like you said, maybe one of them drops, but like it's on the road, so I'm highly doubtful for like St. John's or Butler that they're going to drop out of that. But this is the money time. Like this is like if we do well, if we go 500 or I guess 3-2 or even 2-3, and like I'm not even going to say that. If we pick off Creighton or Marquette in any one of those games, the outlook on the season for myself completely changes of like what we can do. Like it completely changes. If we go 3-2 in this stretch, I'm like, okay, we might be talking about a legitimate, like, frankly, contender for the Big East champion, like for the Big East title. Like,
yes,
like
3-2 puts us in that stretch.
Yeah.
Absolutely puts us in the Big East title talk.
Yes. So like this is that money. This is that stretch. Like this is money time. This is where like show us who you are. So I'm excited about it. This stretch is like why you love college basketball. You know,
that is a tough stretch though. But like but realistically though, that has every possibility to be like an 0-5 stretch too. Like, and if it's 100%.
And the good thing is, we should definitely raise alarm bells if it's 0-5, because that was 5 losses in a row is terrible. But as long as we do take care of our business earlier, it doesn't sink us.
Yes.
Now it's not good at all, but like
it won't test the theory. But yeah.
This is why you go back to leg 1 and you look at our next 3 games: the Xavier, St. John's, DePaul homestand.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is why that's so important.
Exactly.
Because you have to win those games, because the next stretch of 5 games is so difficult.
Yep.
You got to get it done.
And we're at home for all 3, so it's like you got to take care of business.
Yep.
You just got to.
The third leg: Providence at home, at Xavier, Hall at home, at Georgetown, Butler at home. So you have a stretch. This is another. We were talking about like how you construct like a winning or potential tournament level team. Like Willie, you were talking about taking care of business at home. Providence, Hall, and Butler at home. Providence is absolutely a tournament team right now. Hall beat UConn, but otherwise has been not great. But I think with that win against UConn, you can elevate them above the Georgetown and the DePauls, like clearly a different level. And Butler at home, right? Like you got to win those games. You got to win all 3 of those games realistically, even though Providence is really good. And then at Georgetown, you have to win. You have to sweep Georgetown this year, right? Like Ed Cooley will eventually get them to be decent, but like you have to beat Georgetown twice this year. They're really bad. at Xavier is tough, right? Like we won that game there last year, right? We will be favored, at least based on what the metrics currently stand on now, will be favored to win that game this year. You kind of have to win that game, but a Sean Miller coach team is going to be a tough out at Cintas in late January, early February.
With a win that, or with a game that, like, realistically, I mean, you need to win every game, but like at home, a team that will have like a good resume that, like, barring the wheels falling off us as a tournament team, like that's going to be a win that Xavier needs. Like realistically, if they're going to put themselves in the tournament position, like beating us, that's the game where they're like, all right, it's not Creighton, it's not UConn, it's not Marquette, but if we can take Villanova at home, like that's going to help us a lot and build our resume up. Yeah, I mean, these Providence games are the first Providence game. Thankfully, it's at home. I mean, we all know what Providence is. Bluff, I'm going to say some nice stuff about Providence. I mean, I love the program. Just shout out to the Providence program. But love Kim English. Like, been a big Kim English fan since he was playing at Missouri. Trevor is anti-Kim English.
No, I'm not anti-Kim English. I think he's fine. Anybody that was in the same organization as Darren Hilliard is obviously a high-caliber individual.
Losers of 28 straight. 27.
Yeah. Providence praise hurts me. I know they're a good team, but
I love that team. I love that program.
like Devin Carter. Also, we're talking about a person who could maybe.
Yeah, Devin Carter was the one that we missed in the earlier conversation.
But like Devin Carter's playing himself to be an NBA player. Let's just
Miles Powell type.
Yeah. And then I think we have that last stretch.
Sorry, I didn't see the comment section until just now, and I was like, "You just called out bluff," and I was like, "Oh my god, it's so good." That's better than the original. It's better than the original. If you see the YouTube, the Twitter comment section, that's.
Oh my god. Like 4 is tricky. It's at UConn, Georgetown Roulette, at Providence, at Seton Hall, and home against Creighton. That's a tough stretch.
That's like the second tough stretch, and it's like, yeah.
Again, 3-2 would be huge.
3-2 would be huge there.
You need to beat Georgetown. Sweeping Creighton would be huge. We played really well at UConn last year. I don't know. Well, that was before they kind of went on their tear. That was like their low point of the season almost last year, I think, if I remember correctly.
This is end of season UConn. Klingen's back in the roster. And it's not at Excel. It's at Gamble.
Yeah.
We're at Gamble this year for UConn. That's
we have one down year and they move us to Gamble.
Yeah, they moved us to fucking Gamble, bro. Like that's rough. Gamble is tough.
Is that further into Connecticut or is that closer?
Yes, it's further into Connecticut.
Even worse.
Stores is just
Stores is New York North. Come on,
the Garden North. At UConn will be a mess. I think you have to beat Georgetown. At Providence, that student section is not something that you want to encounter. That's like people in Villanova stands take notes. That's what it should look like. That's what it's supposed to be like. That's the nicest thing I can say about Providence right now. And then at Seton Hall, they always play us so tough, especially end of the year. You need to find 3 wins.
I think you need to find at least 2 wins.
At least 2 for sure.
I mean, and it'll depend on what happens. We go 5-0 in that first original stretch, which isn't going to happen. But we go 5-0 that stretch. It's like, who cares what happens back there? Because we're locked in. Or at that point, you're probably like, oh, you want to go 2-3 so we can lock up a top 5 seed, or whatever.
Well, that's the weird thing about the schedule, right? Like we go, let's just play this out. 5-0 in Leg 1, which we talked about is eminently reasonable. 2-3 in Leg 2. Which is hard, but you got to find 2 wins in Leg 2. 4-1 in leg 3, which might be the tallest task of them all, but 4-1 in leg 3, and 2-3 in leg 4, and you have a 13-7 conference season.
Yep.
Right, which is probably putting you second or third.
That's what in the beginning of the year. That's what we talked about would probably win the conference this year. Just knowing how close these teams would be and how much of a bloodbath it would be in the middle. That's if we go back, we can probably find us saying 13-7, 14-6 probably wins.
Yeah, but that would be a credible accomplishment. Yet it's in certain stretches you'd be like under 500 in 2 separate stretches. It's just such a weird. It's a weird schedule in that it's like, all right, this is theoretically an easier part of the schedule that we're in right now. Then it gets really fucking hard. Then it's moderately easier, not easy, but like all winnable games, and then another tough stretch to begin with to end. So it could be the roller coaster is not over. Is kind of the point here, is that we are going to be up and down.
It's going to be Tower of Terror.
Yeah,
that's the new roller coaster.
But
got off Space Mountain.
But you go 5-0 here. Let's just say this: 5-0 here, 3-2 in leg 2, 4-1 in leg 3, and you find 3 wins. You're 15-5. You probably won the conference.
Yeah.
So I've been silent because I'm on my favorite website,
Torvik?
T-Rank. Yeah, I'm on Torvik, messing around with it. And I have us. So I have us in winning stretch the next 3 games. So 5-0. I have us going 3-2, where we lose both to Marquette. So like, let's say we drop both to Marquette, we don't beat them, but we do get Connecticut at home. Then I have us going 4-1 with losing at Xavier, and then I have us going 3-2 with losing at Connecticut, at Providence, and I'm even going to get wild and say we're going to lose at Seton Hall. So we're adding 2 and 3. What Torvik predicts there is a 5 seed Villanova.
Like, I take it.
That's the potential we have here. And obviously, if we don't drop both at Marquette, or if we don't lose something on the road to like Seton Hall, we're probably looking closer to like a 4 seed, if not a 3.
As it stands right now, if you were to ask Vegas to set lines for all the games for the rest of the season right now, so basically looking at KenPom, right, like, and saying, what would that look like? We would be favored in every game except for at Marquette, both UConn games, and at Providence. And
really?
Marquette at home would be a pick'em.
Wow. I did not expect that. I thought for sure there'd be like a road game that we wouldn't have.
No, like our projected record on KenPom is 13-7 for the conference. So he's got 4 L's like shown off on the schedule.
Yeah.
But the projected record where he just adds up the percentages is 13-7. So like there are 3 games, right? It makes sense, right? Like there are 3-4 games that are going to make or break kind of like this whole season. So, but yeah, to me, it's not about how you do at Marquette and at UConn this year. UConn and Marquette at home, important. Creighton at home, important, right? Like, can we win of those remaining 5 games? Can we win 2 of them? If we can win 2 more of them and basically split with UConn, Creighton, Marquette overall, whether we match up poorly or better with one of those teams or another, like whatever, I don't care. If you can split those 3 versus those 3 opponents, that's amazing. And then the most important piece of the schedule is how you perform at Butler, at Providence, at Seton Hall, at Xavier, at did I say at Butler? At St. John's.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be that's the whole season in the basket right there.
Yeah. And yeah, to your point, it's about not even just it's also then like protect home court. We realistically, you can't, outside of the Connecticut, Creightons, Marquettes of the world, and like maybe you're giving one mulligan, you have to protect home court. And that's just, without that, we're not having this conversation in a couple weeks. Specifically, the next 3 games is what I'm talking about.
Trevor?
I think we should just win all the games, and then we don't have to worry about it. Personally.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. You've been sitting here prognostic.
I've been
Whatever.
looking for. I was looking for my other glue guy memes that my friend Matt made. But yeah, like we said, those harder stretches are critical, but it all falls onto you have to beat the middle and be able to rise above those guys in the middle. Otherwise, it's they're never going to be. The only bad losses out there are Georgetown and DePaul. We get that. We know that.
Yep.
You might be depending on how I have more faith in Georgetown, believe it or not, than DePaul, which is shocking. But those are the only bad losses that sit here right now. So it's just really about Butler, Seton Hall, Providence, and who am I forgetting?
St. John's.
St. John's. Yeah, St. John's. Make them have to order another pizza for Patino after Eric Dixon takes Soriano to the woodshed. That's all I want to see.
As of right now, T-Rank has a 94% chance of making the tournament, which I think is kind of expected at this stage.
That's a 94% chance of Kyle Neptune keeping his job.
Yeah, I mean, let's call a spade a spade.
I mean, look, to your point about no loss is going to be truly bad other than Georgetown and DePaul. Georgetown is 205 in the net. DePaul is 284 in the net. Seton Hall is 88 in the net, and everyone else is top 60. Every other team is top 60.
So basically, every other road game that we play will be a quad 1 road game. Like that's just
correct.
That's just what it is. So like racking those up.
Yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quad 1 guaranteed games left, and realistically 3 more home quad 1 games. So 9 quad 1 games remaining.
If you can get 5 of those, you can get 5 or 6 of those.
Which, by the way, we're 3-0 in quad 1. So.
And Eric Dixon is playing like a player of the year candidate against quad 1 teams.
That's true. That's such a weird thing about him. We awarded him the Alpha Dog of the Week. We have to hit the Shaq Fit Man Play of the Week. So why don't you guys go ahead?
Well, I think if it's just Willie and I were confused because time doesn't exist between, right before Christmas and through New Year's. So we thought that these were 2 different weeks, so we would have 2 awards to give. I thought if TJ Bamba connected on his first dunk in the what was it, the Creighton game or the DePaul game, where he like stuffed himself on the rim, and then he made one in the second half.
That was DePaul.
Yeah, so that was a candidate, but I think if we're only giving 1 award, I think both go to Eric. Just that the game-winning 3 after his, till that point, 29 and 8 or 10 or whatever it was performance.
I'm not. Yeah, it goes to Eric. I want to give a shout out to that. I mean, we were having fun because it was DePaul, but like that flurry of like, oh, we're just gonna try and dunk it on people was fun to see. Like
everybody was like, screw it, I'm going up.
Burton had a putback. Burton had the steal and then a dunk. Bamba had his. Mark was like, don't leave me out of it, and then just like dashed into the lane and went up. And it was like, wait, whatever, you got fouled. But it was very clear. Mark was like, I'm just gonna go and try and dunk.
That was very much a Jermaine and Slater thing to do, where it was like, I probably would miss this layup. I'm just gonna try to dunk it through this person. And it works. So
yeah, huge plays.
I think everything goes to Eric.
Yeah, everything goes to Eric. Well, I know we were getting closer on time, but we wanted to wrap up here, kind of with our New Year's resolutions for the team. Just things we're hoping for coming for the new year. Obviously, it's December 27th. So we have another, hopefully 4 months of Villanova basketball. Realistically, 3. We'll probably be upset in mid-March. But what are we hoping for in the next 3 months? What are your wishes for the team? Any resolutions that the team should have?
My biggest resolution is that we have a result that is definitive about this season. So like I want an answer one way or the other. If we crap out and then we know we have to make some changes, like fine. Like I don't want that at all. Like I'd rather us make the tournament. Like I root for Villanova in every game. I'm not rooting against anybody or anything, right? Like period. Obviously, then the best possible result is that we have something that's definitively good, right? Like give me something that's like, I don't want to be a 7 or 10 seed, right? I want to be if you're going to be good, go be good, right? Like go be impressive. Go get that 4, 5, 3, 4, 5 seed if you can, right? Like the resume is there, like the wins are there for it. You go out and you have a really good Big East conference season. Like we could win the conference still and get into like a top 3 seed line.
Yep.
Like full stop. If we meander and are solid, but meander a little bit to like the way I kind of laid out the schedule before to like a 12-6, we're still going to probably be a 6, 7 seed, which is fine. I just don't want to see us be like 11-9, win again, go 1-1 in the Big East tournament, and then be like an 8 seed, right? Like it's just not like, yeah. Do you have an opportunity to pull one game out of your ass and make a Sweet 16 and have like a cool tournament run because you knocked off a 1 seed? Yeah, you have that opportunity. But I really just prefer that we actually like get it done and actually have a definitive answer on this season so that we can have something to chew on in the off season. Just going and being an 8-9 seed and winning a game and then losing to a 1 seed is just, it's not fun. It's like good that you made a tournament. You feel good that you got off the schneid, like, and didn't
1 seeds
like,
don't always win. Ask Wisconsin.
yeah, I understand that. I'm fully understanding of history there, but it's just like it's like the equivalent of being an 8th seed in the NBA, where it's like, cool, you're not in the lottery and you're not good enough to win a championship.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd agree there. My biggest thing is I want to win the games that we're supposed to win some of the games we're not supposed to win, and
then win all the rest,
and then win all the games in between. Yeah, no. Especially like we talked about, that middle of the pack Big East is just going to be a bloodbath, and I'm just worried that we're going to hurt ourselves by not taking care of business there. So I really just want to ensure that we win those games we're supposed to win. My next big one would just be sharing the ball and having fun. Like it's hard to take, like I said, it's hard to take much away from the DePaul result just because of how bad they are. But like the guys were sharing the ball. We had probably our max on assists of the season. I'm not even going to check. I'm just going to say that it was. Like the guys just looked like they were having more fun. Obviously, when you're trying to do a dunk contest with like 8 minutes left in a game, like, yeah, you're going to be having a good time. But sharing the ball, especially when Justin comes back, like we touched on earlier, just making sure it doesn't stick and keep that offense evolving and moving. Just hoping our shooting comes back to reality.
Yeah, mine is on shooting. You guys are being not vague, but like, come on, we're setting SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, whatever the R stands for.
Beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
You sound like a consultant.
That's my consultant background, baby. Whatever the R is. I want the 3-point percentage. We're currently at 33.4%. Give me 35.4% by end of year. That's my resolution for this team.
Regression to mean Brian.
We are 35.4% at end of year. I will pre-book my ticket to wherever the Elite Eight is. We're throwing out shit, hoping it sticks. But
it might be in Boston.
It is. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Wait. As if we're going to necessarily be there, but
and Elite Eight will be in Boston.
Yeah, I will. So I will be at the Elite Eight in Boston no matter what. Go. So actually, I will be. I'm setting specific goals. I know that I will be at the Elite Eight in Boston. And then the other one, I just want to see like, and this one's like for Kyle. I want to see just like more, and we're gonna get a little like more vague here, but just like ownership of the lineup. I think he's doing a good job experimenting. I think as we start to go through, like, and I think I mentioned this on the last pod, figuring out, all right, who's the 8 or 9 we're rolling with in the first half, and then who's the like 6
Situational
and
guy.
7
Yeah.
and who's situational for the second half when things get tight, and then when things are loose and free, like cool, like let him have fun. We did that versus DePaul, but for Kyle, it's just like continued improvement in that. Like I think we've seen him start to understand it a little bit more and start to get a little bit more ownership of it. There's been a little bit less hockey subs, so I just like want to see more improvement for Kyle. So that's my resolution for him. But specifically 35.4%, put it on a sticky note, put it on the board. Team, that's what we're aiming for.
Love it. Love that for us.
Big goals.
That was it.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Nana and Joku.
That's it. That's the tweet.
That's it.
That's the tweet. That's how we.
Nana and Joku.
I made a list of resolutions, and my last one just says Nana and Joku. I don't know if I forgot to like continue writing them, or that was just I want him to continue getting minutes or something. But that was literally just like the last one on the list is just Nana and Joku.
That's how we finish every podcast.
Do you guys want to share any of your personal New Year's resolutions?
Sure. Let me look at my phone.
I gotta lose weight.
I don't believe in
Yeah.
personal resolutions. Yeah,
I'll lose weight again. That's gonna be my biggest one.
losing weight's a good one.
Yeah, mine is to become less humble.
Mine's to stop. So if for those of you that don't know Brian like we do, his way of communicating via text is depending on how much respect he has for someone, he will spell their name correctly or incorrectly. And I have found that bleeding into my personal life where I will start misspelling people's names intentionally. So mine is to stop becoming more like Brian.
I'm an influencer.
I want to go to Canada this year, so that's one of mine.
Cool.
Oh, and you're close to the western part of Canada. That's much more welcoming.
I think I have, man. I'm gonna go up to Vancouver.
That's a fact. Yeah.
Cool.
I was in Quebec with a friend once, and we were in a cab. Cab driver was obviously from Quebec, and my buddy was like, "Oh, I have a friend from Vancouver," and he was like basically asking the cab driver if he knew him. And I'm like, just to give you the geographical layout, you just ask the guy in Boston if he knows your friend in Seattle.
Well, did he?
No, the cab.
Yeah,
was like,
totally.
"No, I don't
Best
know them."
friends. Best friend.
Yeah. All right.
My another resolution that I'll tie back to basketball is I actually want to get to a few away games this year. That'll be. I want to get to like I always go to St. John's and Seton Hall, but I would love to get. I want to get to at UConn. I'd love to get to the AMP/Dunk.
Chris, we can plan that. I'll be back by then.
Okay, I have no desire to go to Georgetown. So I've done that already, and that sucks.
Were you going to say Pearl Harbor?
I have no desire to go to.
I thought you were going to say Purdue. I like
no desire to go to Purdue.
Was going to start with
None.
a P. Yeah.
None. Mackey looks cool. Don't care. I don't need to go. At some point in time in my life, I assume I'll get to Hinkle Fieldhouse.
Yeah, that's more of like a life board thing for me is to get to an away game in all the Big East teams. Maybe not DePaul, but you never know. It looks like a nice arena at least. I don't know.
It's a nice arena, and it's Chicago, so like there are worse places you could go.
Hinkle feels like
terrible, but
Hinkle feels like a place I'll take my family when I drag them on a road trip, and I'm like, oh, look where we can stop. And then like
only 3.5 hours out of the way.
Yeah, and I just drag.
Yeah. Eat Culver's twice around there. So, okay.
All right.
That's all I got.
All right.
All right.
We get back when?
Are we back before? We're not back before Xavier. We're back after.
No, back after Xavier.
Back after this. I think we're back after. We're back after Xavier and St. John's. So,
Okay.
Or we're doing something pre-St. John's with the St. John's podcast. We'll let you know. We'll let everybody know. We got some stuff to figure out with St. John's podcast.
It's nebulous. It's the holidays. Whatever.
No one knows what time it is. It's somewhere between 12:24 and 1:02. So, All right. Thanks everybody for listening, and as always, let's go Nova.
Nana and Joku.